Hello, hello, dear colleagues and our guest of our Z conference. My name is Ilya, and I would like to be there and would like to represent our guest and our speaker, Andy. And we are going to discuss today a very important topic for our business analyst colleagues as staffing, as how to find the best projects in their life, dream project, and this one. But before we go to this topic, and I give a word to Andy in this case, there are many questions about your experience. And can you describe a little bit what does mean experimental nuclear physical and, experience in your life?
Oh boy. Yeah, okay. So I'd quote Leonard here from the Big Bang Theory. That's what he did. So essentially, being experimental nuclear physicist means that there is some other guy doing super complex calculations,
Mhm.
and you can check them very thoroughly and
Okay,
do them
thank
on
you.
your own. But
Yeah, thank you very much. So Andy is our lead business analyst and have experience in other interesting domains, not only physical. And so I give you word to you.
thank you, Ilya. So hello, guys. And today we talk about the BA staffing. And before we jump into details, and before we jump into why you should care, I'll give you a brief background on what this whole topic is about. So essentially, BA staffing is a process of finding the right business analyst for this particular position at this particular timeline. On top of that, in reality, of course, we are working on finding the right skill set to perform the specific skill of the set of tasks. Without additional details, let's jump to the why you should care part and what's in it for you. A brief background why I'm here and why you can learn something here. For the past 2.5 years, I am a staffing manager at EPAM, meaning that I work with finding the right people for the, let's say, right positions. On top of that, I'm a lead business analyst and BA manager on the account level, meaning that I also work on the part where this right person found the right position is interviewed, and I'm also the guy essentially doing the interview and accepting the BA for the position. So like finding the guy, accepting the guy, and meeting the bridge in between. And on top of that, yeah, as all of you, for the 7+ years, I guess it's already 8, I am constantly suffering from unclear requirements on different levels. So that's where we start. And today we talk about the staffing process in general, and where do you fit in and what you can take from it, finding the right BA, of course, ensuring the match from the company perspective, and from the project and account perspective, of course, essentially meeting these two a bit contradicting parts. And then we scale it to the cross-competence picture because it's never just about finding the right BA. And then we scale it once again to the big picture over the years. So these market ratings and how it does influence the next interview you're about to have. We start with the staffing flow. At some time point, the contract is agreed upon and some staffing plan, very preliminary one, appears. Like, for delivering this, we need an architect. Yeah, okay. Dev lead, definitely. QA guy, yeah. Business analyst, sure. And then at this time point, as a company, we start looking for a proper candidate. Then the candidate is proposed. Like, you see, hey, skills probably match domain. Hey, this guy probably knows healthcare. This healthcare project should work. And then you chime in and the interview happens. After that, you are either booked for the position or rejected right away. Then the onboarding starts, then you're assigned, and the usual delivery happens. Plain and simple. This is super simplified flow, but it would serve our purpose today. Imagine playing a perfection game. This one, I believe you've seen different implication of this. And in this game, imagine the whole to be a set of tasks which should be performed. And the shape you are trying to fit in the whole is a set of skills from one or different people you are trying to apply to solve these tasks. But imagine a situation when you play this game and you never have enough of shapes. You don't see the shape, you just grab it and try to squeeze in. You don't see the whole from all angles, meaning that you don't understand all the tasks per se because, well, your experience might be big, but it's never as big as all projects in the company. So you might understand what should be done, but you might not have done it with your own hands. So you guess. And there is always some degree of guessing. And imagine playing this very game on the timer. So there is some other guy who hold the timer and who kicks you every time fit isn't perfect. So this is the staffing process, which you see from the interview perspective. This is what happens behind the scenes. And at this moment, you might think that it's not that applicable to your everyday work. And yeah, you get to the interview like what, once every 3 months, once a year, probably less. I'll try to share with you what you can take to your next interview right away. And we'd start with the project level, essentially, like finding the right guy for the project. And the ultimate goal for the project is to find some skill set. I'm not saying some guy, because there might be different guys, but some skill set to cover the specific list of tasks. And on top of that, there should be a spark, like culture fit. And on top of that, it should happen most often tomorrow, or more preferably yesterday. This picture on the right clearly depicts what this intrinsic pain we're feeling when not finding the proper guy. Before we jump forward, I want to say that for this specific list of tasks, it's worth asking and worth investing some part of the interview before the start or the very first minutes of it into asking and listening what's expected. So surprisingly, again, that might be not a rocket science for you, but this happens quite frequently. Before, well, you came to the interview to answer questions, but before that, please ask these first 1 or 2 questions, like what's needed there, how can I help, and listen, because this way you can map your experience better, and this way you can build this spark better. Because on top of the usual well, interview and ask them like, can you write the feature list? Can you write user stories? You interview each other for the culture fit. The worst situation you can get in is the team which is accustomed to the culture of constant overtimes and these heroic deeds again and again and again. And it's great when your culture fit that, but what if not and you didn't ask? So please think about this at the very beginning of the project level staff and flash interview process. And if you ask about one thing that should be highlighted on the interview, that would be independence, especially during the pandemic crisis and after that. But it was important way long ago. This may differ from project to project. This may differ from position to position, but as a rule of thumb, I guess this is based on 100 plus interview this year. If you don't know what you could possibly highlight when presenting yourself and answering different questions in different case situations on the interview, this would be a safe bet to highlight you being able to work independently, identify problems, convert these problems into tasks, and solving those tasks. This is of severe importance, not only because this highlights your seniority and maturity, but also because it highlights your value for the project and for the particular guy who is interviewing you, because we can safely guess that this guy wouldn't want to micromanage you and spend a lot of time on the tasks which he was doing by his own hands beforehand. Plain and simple. If you take just one thought from this presentation, let it be this one. Please highlight your independence on the project interviews. And then I want to share with you a few stories from which you can also learn for your next project interviews. The first one happened like a year and a half ago. So to give you the context, there was a 20-minute interview scheduled for the QA who has transferred to the BA position. And this was a very talkative guy, which is a good thing. Very customer oriented, very people person, which is a good thing. But out of this 20-minute interview, this guy was talking like 18 minutes about his QA experience. Please, please don't do that. Not only because that's not super relevant, but you can clearly guess by the time frame that this is not a usual interview. If this specific time frame happens, and if you see it right away, please invest some time into asking what key things I want to highlight, I should highlight here, and what the interviewer wants to talk about, because you can guess it, this guy was rejected simply because of this 20-minute talk. The next story I want to share with you is the list of demands story, which has happened a bit less than a year ago. So essentially, I believe every one of you has this specific list of ADO requirements or this picture of the ADO project in your head. When you can clearly say that I probably want to work with British customer, I'd probably work in gaming domain, let's say 9 to 5 would be great. No overtimes, yes, please. But this list of demands has appeared on the interview where I was just a supervisor, and the candidate has spilled it right at the very beginning, and this killed this part right off the bat. So essentially, what you can learn from this story is that having this list is good. Preparing it beforehand is essential, because otherwise you might agree to something not explicitly highlighted, but building it and rehearsing the story of how you deliver this list and message beforehand is very important. Please prepare and rehearse beforehand, so that when you're asked, like, what motivates you, or what are your key, well, career directions, this would be the place where you align your expectations with the project expectations. Please rehearse it to deliver it smoothly, properly, and consistently every time. And the third story I want to highlight has happened like a month ago. So essentially, we were interviewing the candidate, and the candidate of a senior level said that, similar to the previous case, he wants to work on a project where the process should be mature, where there should be a mature requirement solicitation process, where there should be a mature customer interaction process, and on and on and on, which is not a bad thing by itself. But if you are being interviewed for a senior level position, no matter what your title currently is, the proper way of delivering that message might be to say that I understand what a mature process looks like, and I'm eager to help with building it, enhancing it, and supporting it, because my inner need is to work in a mature process. And I believe right here you can see the difference on how that sounds. Please learn from these stories. Please. Again, I'm not saying this is mistakes. These are mistakes because, well, every interview is different, every person position is different, but these are things that happen again and again. Please, please learn from them. And now we'll move to the unit level. Essentially, this is about the tools which you do have today for preparing to your interview, which would happen maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe in a year. The first one is working on the company or unit level, and that's bench management. In a bit more complex term, that means that, well, let's imagine your company or your unit, there are 100 of days, and 5 of them, different ones, are constantly on the bench. Some project end, new project start, and essentially company find the fit from these guys to the proper position, and it goes on and on and on. You can guess that most of the guys start preparing for their interviews the moment they get in bench, the moment their project ends, or even later when the interview slot appears in their calendar. What you can do to leverage that is to ask a bit in advance, as much as in advance as you can do, about the company goals, so that you utilize your bench time for learning and aligning your learning plan with these company goals. And realistically, nothing can beat the preparation for 2 or 3 months, especially compared to the 2-day preparation, which frequently happens. So this is the tool. For example, the tool you can use. For example, your company might have a goal of becoming the cloud-first organization like EPAM does this year. You can get that the interview, which might happen in half a year, would probably have some cloud-oriented questions, even for the beginning. If you, well, invest some time into learning that today, you wouldn't only be the better candidate and more educated and stuff, but also you would highlight that you wanna firstly work with this company, you share its values, and thus most probably you share the values of the team working on the particular project in this company. And believe me, this matters. The next theme you can leverage on the company or unit level for preparing to your interview is surprisingly the hiring process. Per se, interviewing other guys, reviewing resumes, leaving comments, doesn't strictly prepare you for the particular position, but it prepares you in a sense where you understand what's happening on the market, what do other guys know, what do other BAs know, and how they are answering particular questions. And on this way, you'd be the one learning and you'd be the one preparing the most. So this is the long-term investment. But if you participate in this hiring process, you can be super sure that your own interview would be smooth because you've seen not like one or two in the past 2 years, but you've seen dozens of them. And the last thing you can leverage on the company level is, of course, the education process. I believe every big company had this mentoring, coaching, or some other education activities in which you can participate, and key benefit for you would not only be learning some particular themes, because, well, let's face it, in most cases, you are the one choosing the theme you want to educate others on, but also you'd invest a lot into presentation skills, which again would be super important on that interview happening sometime soon. And no matter how much time you invest in those tools into preparing or for the project level, into working with company level, you're already behind. And we all are. If there would be two things you take from this presentation, let it be the second one. We are already behind. This means that some time ago, the contract was negotiated and position was created, and then the interviews happen, and then we start preparing for it. So we didn't have this information when the contract was negotiated, and thus we analyze the information which is at least 1 week old. Most probably it would be up to a year. And there are tools to work with that. Imagine I'll draw a super simple picture to give you the gist on how to leverage it. And then I'll give you a simple tool of what you can do with these big cross components over your picture / cycle. So today you can see some new positions created on the market. Let's say in your internal tool or some recruiter is reaching you with this position. Like some guy is needed, this is the set of tasks, this is the set of goals. You can safely guess that a while back, new contract was negotiated, which resulted in that staffing plan we talked about before. But this is not the only contract being negotiated at that time. So looking at the bigger picture, you can tell that there a big set of new positions appeared on the market today. Not all of them were filled in and matched properly because some new skills were requested or skills requested in this particular area didn't really match the expertise in this particular city or this particular area, or just domain knowledge wasn't enough. For example, in my city, there was a huge peak like 3 years ago for healthcare specialists, developers, testers, business analysts, even PMs having experience with this particular healthcare projects. So at this time, people start actively learning this skill because they see a peak. And in some time, 3, 6 months, maybe a year, this leads to a new market, like new set of specialists available here. And then the funny thing happens. These people, they, not all of them, find the proper project or the proper assignment, and they get on bench. When the new contracts are negotiated, You can safely match this new contract, for example, in healthcare domain, with this big set of specialists who have learned this skill. This leads to landing the contract in particular company or location, maybe starting a new account or a new engagement. But again, as we talked here, there is no perfect match. So this leads to new position creation for this contract, and this goes over the year again and again and again. On top of that, at this very transition from new contract to new position, you can guess that this is scaled to the course competence level. So imagine that because of this market fluctuation, a month ago, you got a big bench in your location of, let's say, hybrid specialists. Your sales managers worked really well, and they landed a new contract and a new project for them in this location because, well, these guys are good at writing things in hybrids. This would mean that they would also look for a architect now in hybrids. They would look for a BA experienced in hybrids, and probably some other specific positions like DevOps guys or some other custom positions for this particular contract. And that's what leads to new positions. And then you can scale it globally because there is holistically, everything is connected. Essentially, you can say that in your location, either city or country, there is some specific trend. And there are tools for you for identifying that and aligning with that. You can ask your manager, you can use your company tools for, let's say, this simple bench monitoring, or just ask your sales team or consulting team what they're working on. Because just based on this picture, that would be one of the best investments into your next interview, no matter when that would happen. Because this is the tool for you to align with the industry trends, company trends, and market trends at bigger scale than you can access just looking at the particular position. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. So think of these non-usual ways of preparing for your next interview. Scale them globally, and add some specifics. If, for example, you have some specific context, like relocating to a new location, if you are looking for a specific city or specific country, you can start asking and looking what projects, contracts, and customers are working with it today. Most probably they will scale. Most probably you do already have tools to learn proper skills to be there. It's just that they are not per se at your table now, but they are not that far away. So without further ado, I encourage you to start doing this, and I encourage you to start preparing for your next interview today, because nothing can beat this long time and this thorough preparation. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Andy, for your presentation. I think it's quite interesting topic, and for all business analysts who would like to just think about what's the best project of their life, what they would like to find, it can be a very interesting topic. We have several questions from the audience, and I also have several questions to you from my side.
Sure.
So let's start from the questions from our colleagues who is in the beginning of career, for our junior specialists. Yeah. What advice can you advise for them? What question do they need to ask on the project interview when they are junior specialists? So if you're a junior specialist, you have no feedbacks and you're on the
Right.
beginning, how to demonstrate that you're the best guy in this case?
Well, what I see as a trend
Mm-hmm.
for junior specialists today, and that might have changed a bit with the pandemic, is that guys try highlighting a lot of their experience. Like, I'm super motivated, I can do this, and this too.
Soft skill, you
Again, there
mean?
is no silver bullet, but asking what's needed in the first place and talking about that and asking questions and thus showing that you are like learning the topic on the way might be a good thing. Again, that's super generic, but please keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. Another question that's quite be related to this one is, what are the good smells of good business analyst? How it can, what are the performance inspiration should be done by them to inspire his future client or project?
You mean generating this spark with the during the interview?
It's like, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Again, there would be no silver bullet. From my experience, being honest and transparent always worked, and clearly saying that, hey, I don't know this, never worked with that. I guess that work this way. Uh, this pays off. So interviewing an ideal candidate which hits all the boxes is just boring. But interviewing a real guy who says like, yeah, here I have this experience, here I did this wrong, and that's what happened, and saying that I don't know this particular thing, never worked with that, uh, not only supports like your integrity, but also helps to understand that you are talking with the person, not like with the can do it all machine. So
From
yeah.
Yeah, from my side, I would like to add that you
Mhm.
need, as a business analyst, you must be very prepared to the technical interview or the project interview. It's mean that if you do not know this technology, or if you do not know the domain of the client, you need to be well prepared to receive information about the market trends on the client. For example, is it retail? You need to spend some time to prepare it regarding trends in retail, trends maybe in your clients to find more information. And now you can inspire that you're interested in this client, you're interested in this domain, and it can be very good support to you during the interview. So another question from my side in the uh, what trends and what skills do you see now that can be um, can have very good demand from our clients during the next year or maybe next several years from your side?
Yeah, it's always hard to predict, and there would be another conference happening on this topic in like 2 weeks. uh, I'll give you a short, I've seen several presentations from there already, and I'll give you a short overview. uh, Surprisingly, McKinsey, this is the consulting agency, has shared that the key market trend in general now focuses on digital transformation, which in our terms, in EPAM terms, means a lot of consulting, which is spread into three like sub layers: business technology and digital consulting. I believe this again. I am not that guy who should say like this would happen, but if you asked me to guess, I believe this would be the number one topic.
Hmm. Maybe about the technologies or other things, domains.
Uh, well, domains differ, and today I personally wouldn't put a bet on any particular domain. Again, simply gaming is going on, of course. Healthcare is going on, of course. It's pandemic. You can guess it without any words coming from these mouths. But technology-wise, the only thing I can highlight is clouds in general. And then I'd rather redirect you once again to your company goals and trends. because that would be a way better tool than I can share with you as a generic one today.
Okay, thank you. So we have several questions from our junior specialist. And what is your opinion regarding project for junior specialists uh, with the no specific requirement for it?
Well, you learn it the hard way.
Yeah.
Uh, mm,
Is
again,
it is it okay from your praxis?
this is a very isolated question, and that might be okay, uh, especially if you are not starting a career but transitioning from some other position, either on this project, like say transferring from QA to BA. That might be a good part where you were constantly suffering from the lack of requirements and now you understand what process should be built. This might be a great learning opportunity. And again, if you're transferring from subject matter expert to the BA in this particular project without the requirements, that sounds like a great starting point. Otherwise, you'd probably have a lot of overtimes.
Thank you very much. From my side, I'd like to add that it's quite okay that there is no specific requirement because you're a junior specialist, and usually in our EPAM project, we have senior colleagues who will help you to learn. And from junior specialist, we wait that this person will be fast learner and he will
Yeah,
do these mechanics, for example, user story creation or acceptance criteria creation or interview wording and other one fast, and it will be the good start for the next level when you can deep dive to the technology, hybrids, for example, or SAP on another one, or the domain, pharmacy, retail, and other one. Another very interesting question. Uh, Maybe it's more related to EPAM story. Um, what can you suggest to candidates who pass the interview and he doesn't like the project?
been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Retrospectively, again, I did the wrong thing when it happened to me, and this was my previous job, and I left the company. Firstly, please don't repeat this mistake. Secondly, I believe almost any position could be leveraged for your career. It just in this situation, it takes some time to actually map what can be done on this project for your career development, because it's always not that you are just doing the tasks. You are also learning on the way, and this is especially important for junior specialists. So clearly highlighting that, writing down, mapping these goals, and aligning that with the project expectations might be the tool to leverage what you're doing on this project. If there is no, well, I don't believe there would be nothing at all, but yeah, probably you had such cases. I mean, you have
Uh,
more experience than me, so probably.
yes, it can. There are many options, so you need to start from the reasons why do you don't like this project. There are many other reasons. One of them, you do not like the client. For example, you would like to work with American, for example, clients, or you would like to work with European clients, or you'd like to this one. So this means that you need to work with your staffing coordinator or resource manager to go to the project where you would like to work, and it will make you happier. Another things, for example, you need to understand that project interview, is the interview for candidate and also interview for the client or the client representative, and it's quite possible when the project mindset, for example, or like how to say it, like test and feel of the client uh, mm, uh, is not successful to you, and you need to understand that it's quite okay to reject the project, but it can be quite reasonable, and these all these cases should be discussed with your staffing coordinator for the future or your resource manager. This one. Now, this is possible ways. It's quite okay. We do not have as a task um, uh, to staff all people to the first project that we received. No, we would like that our clients will have a good partnership established with the people, and also the people that works will be happier on the long term. Yeah, and we know that most of time is spending on the project, and it's quite important. And so, staffing coordinator and resource manager are aware of it. So, another question that I would like to ask, I will reformulate this question regarding business analysis frameworks. Like, so we know that it's important to grow from business analysis to business analyst to senior business analyst, or for lead business analyst to create frameworks on the project, create business analysis work, artifacts creation, and management of the people. So it's like business processes management tool set. And from the other way, senior business analyst needs to be a good expert in the domain and this one. So the question, what the balance between it? Is it critical to be a domain expert, or it's more critical to have business analysis hard skills like creation business analysis framework on the current project?
Well, that's a great question, actually. Um, there is no generic answer here. Depends on the position and depends on the particular project and client. As a rule of thumb, I'd suggest embracing the idea that, especially starting from the senior position, you are already a manager, meaning that you interact with the B and C level on the customer side, most probably interact a lot with the B and C level on the EPAM side or your company side as well. And essentially, you bridge the gap between the expectations of those parties. And thus, you, especially starting from the senior level, you are not just writing stories or just outlining the requirements, but you own the delivery, you own the successful product, and you support it being successful for all the parties involved. Having that in mind, I'd suggest always mapping what's happening to this manager mindset. What do you think? Does this answer the question, or we should elaborate a bit?
I think yes, it was answered. Another one, I know that it's related to this one. How it is important for business analysts to be an expert in the technology, like Hybris or SAP or Camunda or another one, or domain expert, for example, pharmacy, banking, insurance, another one, or business analysis framework is more important. What do you think about it?
There would be no generic answer. Probably the way to get an answer for you would be the career path you are trying to pursue. And again, that may change once you get more information. Typically, if you go into this consulting direction or digital transformation direction, you should, this is just implied that you should know a lot of platforms and technologies. If you are moving toward the product management path, probably investing into domain knowledge and specifying as a product manager in particular domain is way more important than understanding how the particular technology works, because, well, you'd have the guy. This might be this super high level separation, which again you can start with.
Okay, thank you very much. Regarding the product management, I would like to add that product management mindset will be more important than domain knowledge. And based on, if you will return to the two questions before, we asked that for junior specialists, it's very important to be fast learners, and these skills must be important during the whole career. So this is a suggestion from my side, and I'm sure that from Andy's side, that you need to learn, and you need to be prepared that in case you do not an expert in the domain that you're going to join. So sorry, you will need to do to become this expert. Yeah. So this is only advice that we can suggest it to you.
Yeah.
So. I think from the question that all there are several questions from our junior specialist, and I think the next session can be very important for them. So Andy, can you describe a little bit about the next session?
Yeah, short spoiler. The next session would be uh, rotating around the BA interview process in specifics. What's going on? Uh, what should you do during the interview? And how to interpret the results.
Yeah,
I
and
believe this is all I know. And
yes, and it will
please,
be
please go there.
it,
Yeah.
it will be a real interview with real candidate and with real interviewers, our specialists from EPAM, and you can find what the question they ask the candidate, what the answers of the candidate, and it's quite unique situation and unique opportunity uh, to see how the real interview is holding on. So, guys, thank you very much. Andy, thank you for your presentation. I hope we answered all the questions that we have. In case you have any question to Andy, so please put them to the Q&A chat, and Andy or me will answer to them. Thank you very much. So let's see together on the next session, and have a nice day.
Thank you, guys.